Welcome to Protea Weekly. My name is Zane Stevens. I'm the founder of Protea Financial, and welcome to episode 30. It is the first week of July, which honestly blows my mind. I'm not quite sure how it happened, where the first half of 2024 went, but in reality, it is July. So happy July, I guess. It's mid-year, so a good opportunity to sort of reflect how the first half of the year is going and look at the second half of the year and identify different places you want to make adjustments or changes or improvements in your life. Maybe go reassess some of those goals, see how you're doing with some of those goals, and just get ready to see. The second half of the year goes really quickly. We're in the middle of summer, so a lot of people take a lot of time off. So that goes quickly. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, it's fall and the holiday season's here. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and welcome to 2025 becomes a not so distant situation, which the more I'm talking about it right now, the more I'm like, a lot to do, a lot to get through this year. I had a lot of big plans and things are on track, but I do know that I'm going to have to really push hard in Q3 specifically to be able to meet a lot of my goals. So if you're feeling the same way as me, good opportunity right now to just reflect and adjust if you have to. Because adjusting is a totally acceptable process. Where we think we want to go and where we end up, I don't have to be the same place. But as long as we're keeping a track, close eye on keeping track of it, that's important. But let's get down to what I actually wanted to talk about today. And that is, how do we go about selecting a good accountant? It's a tricky question, right? Because there are multiple options, including, do I hire internally or do I outsource this to a third party? Do I outsource this to an outsourced accounting team, a CAS practice, as they're saying, a client advisory services practice, somebody that's out there that's not within my own business, but comes with a lot of specialized skills and expertise? And that's who we are, right? We're an outsourced accounting practice, a client advisory service business that focuses in on the wine industry and more broadly alcohol beverage. So what decisions should these people be making, or I guess not decisions, what questions should they be asking themselves when they're coming to us to decide, hey, are these guys a good fit for our business? Will they provide me with the services that I need to be successful? And there's a few questions that you can go about asking yourself. And I've sort of put together 5 questions that I think are really, really important. Number 1, what are the services they offer? Number 2, what industries do they specialize in? Number 3, how do they ensure the security and confidentiality of our financial data? Number 4, what is their pricing structure and fees? And number 5, how do they handle communication and reporting? 5 pretty simple questions that I think we should all be asking ourselves when we're going into any professional relationship. You have a list of other professions like accountant, tax provider, attorney, HR professional, banker, financial advisor, coach, M&A consultant. These are questions you probably need to be asking all these people. They're very broad stroke questions to go, who are these people? What do they do? And how can they help me? And on top of that, what is it going to cost me and can they protect my information? They're pretty simple, straightforward questions that I would hope a potential provider should be able to respond and answer for you. I've got a couple of other things that I always think about when I'm providers, like how long have they been in business? Do they have a website that is up to date and usable? How big is their team? Will I have a single point of contact or will I have multiple points of contact? And is there a way that I can maybe get a referral from their current client base or one of my friends? Because there's nothing better than hiring a professional that somebody else trusts. It means somebody else has already gone about and used them, signed off that they think they're pretty good, they're comfortable with them, and that in theory should make your life a lot easier. I know from my side, when there's a sales call happening, and that person I'm talking to is a referral from a trusted partner or another client, it's a super quick and easy phone call. They're still answering all these questions, but they're in their mind, I know somebody who trusts them. So it does come to the point that client testimonials are important. And it's very helpful for a company like ours. We have over 150 clients. We've been doing this for over 10 years. Our people are all over the place. You can see them, talk to them, and look at what they've been able to achieve while they're with us. Makes it a little bit easier because there's real people behind the scenes that you can see, touch, and feel to help you make a better decision. Because let's face it, when you are in business and you're working with any of those professionals I mentioned, accountant, tax provider, attorney, HR professional, banker, financial advisor, coach, M&A consultant, those people have a lot of information about you. Information that in your day-to-day life you would call private and privileged information. A lot of that information you probably don't even want other people to know. And a lot of the time, a lot of our clients don't even want their family members to know what's going on, because maybe things in the business aren't that great. So as much as we as professionals are providing services to clients, it is way more than that, because it is an extremely intimate relationship that we have with our clients. And it is important, through respect and communication, that we build good, strong relationships. We want a situation where we feel like we can trust the information coming from our professionals, as well that our professionals can trust that we are providing honest information to them so that they can do their best job. Because it is such an intimate relationship, asking the right questions up front to identify whether or not this is a good fit for you is critically important. It's pretty difficult to hire a professional. It's really hard to change a professional once you're fully ingrained. And I know it's difficult. I talk to potential clients out there that are with another provider. They're not really happy, but it's very hard for them to pull the trigger and say, I'm going to make this change, especially if there's not going to be a huge cost savings. And honestly, we're not the cheapest out there. There are people that will do it for less. But we're providing an exceptional service to provide you with that accounting information to allow you to make better business decisions. Our price is what our price is. We value our people. We know how much we have to pay for people, and that's what the cost is. So we're not going to cut price just to get a client. That's never going to happen. If anything, I'm probably going to propose a little bit more, and I'll talk about that for sort of the way we handle pricing structures and fees. But I get it. The price is the same or a little bit higher. It's clear that maybe they're going to do a better job. I am definitely frustrated with my person at the moment, but I do have some trust with them. They do have a lot of information about me, and it's really painful to change professionals. So I'm just going to suck it up and see it out. That's a brutally bad position to be in. There's nothing worse than feeling stuck in a relationship, even if it's not working for you, just because it's too difficult to get out of. So this is what I'm trying to encourage you from, this talk today, is let's make better decisions when assessing professionals, and specifically talking about accounting professionals. So let's go through those 5 questions again. Number 1, what services do they offer? Now, hopefully when you go to the professional's website, it'll lay it out for you. This is what we do. But I would still ask them the questions and be prepared to say, these are the things that I need you to do. Can you do them, yes or no? And those are critically important questions, because a lot of time I have these conversations with clients and they ask, well, I need to do all this bookkeeping, payroll processing, I need you to help me make payments, I need monthly management accounts, and I need you to do my taxes. And straight away I'm like, hey, we don't do taxes. We're not a CPA firm. None of us are EAs. We do not prepare state and federal tax returns. But I can do your bookkeeping. I can help you with payments. I can make sure you're super organized. I can give you great reports to make decisions. I can get your payroll run for you with the good partners that we have. And we're always there to have conversations to discuss the information, potential improvements in your numbers, and just be there as a friend, I guess would be a way. Therapist maybe is a better explanation of it. But be there to be somebody, a sounding board to help you. We don't do taxes, it's very clear. So I think it is important that when you go into that relationship that you totally understand what services are being offered. And this is a big communication point right up in the bat. If they're very clear with you what they're saying they do, and then they execute it after the fact, you're going to go into it going, oh my word, they said they can do A, B, and C. I started working them to do A, B, and C. Boom, I feel trust already. So if you're an accounting professional, or if you're a person looking for an accounting professional, this step where you lay out the services required is actually way more important than you ever think. It's important for you to know what they can do for you and then hear it and see them execute. So number one, always start, what services do you offer? Number two, this is not totally critical, and I've got nothing against generalist firms out there. But I do think there is value in using a specialist or niche firm for your business if you're in an industry that is a little bit complicated. A lot of the time, it is extremely helpful, especially from the advisory conversational side, the preparing of financial statements side of it, to have somebody that works in the industry. We specialize in wineries, do alcohol beverage general, but wineries is 85-90% of our business. It is really helpful for us to have that information because it allows us to have insight into how to structure your chart of accounts correctly. It gives us insight in how to cost your inventory correctly. It allows us to have conversations with our clients using the same terminologies that they use day to day. And importantly, it allows us to have conversations with bankers, other consultants, their tax providers in terms that make sense to the industry. If you are a fairly specialized firm, and this could be really anything, I do recommend looking for somebody that has industry experience, that understands your business and can talk to the nuances of your business, because it will make a difference. Again, there's a place for generalist firms, and I've got nothing against it. We started as a generalist firm, but if your industry is a little bit complicated, if you feel like you need somebody that can talk the same language as you, find out if they have industry specialization. And even if they are generalist firms, I think it's worthwhile to check in if they've done something at least similar to what you're doing, because it is a little different. You can get a generalist firm, but they have no experience with inventory, probably going to be a little bit messy and probably going to do cash accounting, and you'll never really know your margins. So be careful. Always have the conversation, where do you specialize, and have you worked with businesses like mine? It does take a lot of the pressure out of it. I talk about number three. It's very important in these times. Everything's digital. We're a fully remote firm. I mean, I'm in an office, but everybody else is at their home working. So it is important to have conversations about security of information and how things are protected. A lot of the time I speak about, the information in terms of our practice management software and how we share information there. I talk about the portals we'll use. I talk about where we store your data, how we store passwords, how we work in teams. Talk a lot about segregation of duties, multiple team members. So, even if there's a rogue employee, it is protected. But this is an important time. These people are working with very important information. So it is good to ask questions about security, confidentiality, and financial data. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I think we all understand how it's important. Maybe down the line, I can get somebody in who specializes in security so we can have a proper conversation about it. But make sure that they at least have some sort of security in place, some sort of system in place, some means of sharing data between each other in a secure manner. Ask the questions. It is important. Number four, ask about pricing structure and fees. Like I mentioned, we're still an hourly firm. We have been doing it. We feel like it at the moment is still the best fit for us. Doesn't mean we don't reassess it on a regular basis. But ask them, hey, what do you expect? I know you're not giving, where it's a first phone call, what does it generally cost to work with you? Do you have minimums? How hard is it to get out? Is this a subscription business or is it pay as you go? Ask those questions. If they sort of and ah about it, be a little worried. You really do want good transparency on pricing. And even if this client is sort of value-based or fixed pricing, ask questions like, what about overruns? What happens if I need a little bit more? What is that going to cost me? And what happens when I exceed my scope for any specific reason? Hey, listen, I'm raising funds. How are you going to help me with that? Because fixed fees are great, but there's sometimes a little bit of hidden costs involved as well. So ask questions about the fee. Obviously, that's what it's going to come down to the end of the day. You're going to have the conversation with the person. You still need to know how much it costs. So look into that. Price is always going to be a determining factor, so do not forget to have a question about pricing and the way their billing systems work, and if there are any hidden fees. Hidden fees can catch you pretty quickly. I've had those situations where I go in and I put in a proposal for $1,500 a month on average. They say, hey, the other person said $1,250. Yeah, I've taken clients over them half your size and their fees have been much higher. Never seen that happen. And then 12 months later, they come back. They're like, hey, we'd love to work with you. And I'm like, well, now my price is $1,750. Like, okay, that's still better than the $2,500 we've been paying. And you're like, hey, what happens to $1,250? Well, there was a bunch of hidden clauses. That's tough. Especially, we started saying it's difficult to change, people you're working with. So be careful of those hidden fees. Be careful of the overruns. Just be careful. Ask questions, get clarity, and make sure you understand how they're going to bill you. Point number 5, I think, is the most important. If I talk to people out there and when they are changing accounting practices or tax providers or even attorneys, the number one reason they're changing is that the communication is poor. I never hear from them, and I only hear from them when there's a problem. So get clear information from the service provider that you plan on use. What are your communication protocols? How will you communicate with me? How often will you communicate? And how quickly will you respond to me when I have a question? That last one is very important. What are your communication protocols around question? If they cannot answer that question, buyer beware. You're buying slow communication then. And everybody can have their different protocols. We use the 24-hour rule. That's not necessarily the right answer, but you have to be clear what those rules are so the buyer understands what they're getting themselves into. And this is important to lay out in the front end of a conversation because it is the place where people get frustrated. They never respond to me. I never hear back from them. How long do they take? Normally 3 to 4 days. And you go read through the contract quickly, and it says in the contract they'll respond to 3 or 4 days. But nobody vocalized that, so they had no idea about the communication protocols. So ask about it if you're getting into a new relationship. And if you are that professional, be very clear and upfront about what your communication protocols are. And feel free to, throw that at the top of your contract. Will you respond in 48 hours or 72 hours or within 5 business days, whatever it is? Communication is important and people want to know about it. And if you're buying a service, you should understand what the communication protocols are as well. So I find myself going on a little long, and I probably could talk about this for a really, really long time. But I do want to summarize, if you're going out there to purchase a new accounting service or a service with any other professional, they asked 5 simple questions you should be asking them before getting started. Number 1, what services do you provide? And do you provide all the services I'm looking for, or do I need to find other professionals to help with certain of these services? Number 2, do you specialize in the industry that I'm in, or do you have experience in the industry I am in? I've got nothing against generalist firms, but a lot of the time, having that industry knowledge does make a difference, especially on the advisory side. Number 3, very important in our electronic age, how do we ensure security and confidentiality of the financial data that we are providing you to be able to do your job? Number 4, very important to ask about pricing structures and fees, and make sure about any hidden fees that could come along with it. Lastly, and probably the most important, have a conversation with them about their communication protocols. Understanding how your professional is communicating is critically important to reduce frustration. I understand hiring a professional, an accountant, is difficult and very sticky. It is hard to move away from somebody that has so much personal information It is very difficult to move away from these intimate relationships. So let's ask better questions on those phone calls when we're looking into the services to make sure that we're doing a better job of picking the right professional for our business up front. If you're in the wine industry, I'm happy to answer all these questions for you. I have a rock star team that is ready to work with all of you. I've really enjoyed this week of Protea Weekly. I think this is an important topic for business owners. I hope you all have a great week. For everybody in the US, happy Independence Day. July 4th is a great holiday. We'll talk again next week. Be kind. Goodbye.